The meeting is being recorded. Good evening, everyone. This is the third session of Farmversities Rising. It's a webinar series organized by Farmversity Alliance. And our Farmversity Alliance is nothing but a collective of different farmversities. Different farmversities are different spaces which are promoting and teaching the methods of natural farming, and they want to strengthen the sustainable agriculture or regenerative agriculture practices. And so a couple of years back, we created an alliance to learn from each other and also support more upcoming farmversities. I'm hoping that in our session today, we have few inspired people who want to start their space of their own. So you will find many mentors here who are running their spaces for many years now. And few of those mentors we have invited as speaker today. Today is the third session of this 5-session series, and we plan to cover different aspects through this series around the natural farming. The first 2 sessions were about the learning and curriculum. That was the first session. Second session was about doing active research to keep this knowledge alive and also relevant to the context in which you're operating the space. Excuse me one second. And today's session is about another important aspect of natural farming, which is local economy and entrepreneurship. So in farming, there are many ways one can create a source of livelihood, which is not just about growing and selling food, right? There are different sources of creating livelihood, and we'll learn about different sources. All the speakers here today are the ones who have
exit from this and go on the other side.
Okay, so all the speakers here are they are living examples or living case studies of creating the offerings or revenue streams, which are not just about growing and selling the food, but they're doing something like setting up farmers market or taking workshops, which is while still working towards strengthening the natural farming ecosystem, right? So we'll learn about that, different revenue models, different ways of livelihood, and also we'll talk about the local economy. Because when we talk about the sustainable agriculture, we talk about creating a clean and local food system. Local is important here because um, if the food has to travel from far away, it creates a huge carbon footprint. And if you're not eating local and seasonal, that's also not best for your body. So our speakers today will talk about that as well. So without further ado, I will start introducing the speakers for today's session. So today, the first speaker, so the 4 speakers are Kapil from Edible Routes, Manas from Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market, Senthil, who runs Senjulai Farmversity near Coimbatore, and Dwiji, who works with the Farmer Collective on using technology in millets production and processing. So I will just let the speakers do the introduction, talk about the initiatives. The first question to all the speakers, and if during the session, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I or Kalarshi will pick them up and ask the speakers. So let's go around the table. Kapil, can you just introduce yourself and talk a little about your initiative? Try to cover that in 2-3 minutes, and then we can jump on the topic questions.
Sure. Hi, my name is Kapil. I run an organization called Edible Roots. We started about a decade ago in Delhi by doing workshops on urban farming and growing food in urban spaces. Personally, mechanisms for reaching out to the consumer directly. So what we do as an organization now is, of course, we still continue to do trainings and workshops on educating people about growing organically and in urban spaces. but also we provide farm spaces on a farm. It's called a farmlet. They are mini farms on a larger farm. And the idea is to provide a space for families who don't have space to grow themselves, and also provide all the services required, the seeds, saplings, labor, etc., and a weekly delivery to them. These are two core services that we offer, in addition to another consulting service that we have, where we use permaculture to design landscapes, small and large. It could be individual farmhouses or resorts or hotels or a commercial farm, any of those areas. And these are sort of the core areas we work in. But the core idea for us is to connect people with their food. As Atul mentioned earlier, that the food is traveling farther and farther from us. The average is about 800 kilometers in India right now, which means that nothing is reaching us in at least 2 days since it's harvested, and which essentially means that it lost most of its nutrition. So the idea is to grow at least a few things, start connecting with the food, which I say that knowing three basic answers about uh, what we eat, which is who is growing it, where is it being grown, and how is it being grown. If we get closer to these three answers about what we are eating, the food will generally be good for you and for your family as well. That's the idea of what we do.
Great. Thank you, Kapil. Next, Manas, can you also briefly talk about your initiative and give a small introduction for yourself too?
Hi, I'm Manas Arvind, and I am the steward of Organic Farmers Market in Gurgaon. Incidentally, we are finishing our 10th year non-stop running this year, and we haven't missed a beat a single week in the past 10 years. That's I'm very proud of. And also, we have edible roots displaying here every week. That's local connection. The farmers market is unique in a way that we have local producers coming directly to the market, and they sell directly to the consumer. And it's now become a place where children have grown up, and they have become friends and family with the farmers. And that's one part. And the farmers have moved on to become much more than just a farmer now. We'll talk about it much later. My journey has been of a mentor in startups, especially grassroots startups and entrepreneurial projects. I'm a permaculture designer myself, practicing one, and I love to bring that to the farms which are participating in the market, or people who are interested in growing some food. Yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Manas. Thanks a lot. I'm also sharing the visuals of their project as they talk, so you can put some photo on the idea. So next, Senthil, can you speak a bit about your project?
Sir, hi everyone. I am Senthil from Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. From 2017, I am running organic farming trainings in and around Coimbatore. In 2012, I used to got trained from the Nammalvar Organic Farming Pioneer in Tamil Nadu. Now I am running organic farming training center. Here we give training to the people organic farming, terrace gardening, kitchen gardening, organic input preparation, value add product like that. And then we also we are conducting training like the lifestyle, medical, workshop for the children's, like that, the whole community activity. Yeah, we are trying to start a modern community in a sustainable way. The producer, we have a lot of producer and customer team. We conducting a lot of lifestyle training for the eco-friendly craft and traditional artworks. The holistic training center we can running in Tamil Nadu. Also working in schools and colleges and farmers schemes. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to add that Senthil, although his pharmacy has been around for quite a while, but because of the great work that he's doing and his vision on scaling it up, he also won the grant from Indian Multiversities Alliance, which is a parent organization of Farmversity Alliance, which supports upcoming Farmversities. So he got a grant this year, and he got mentors from this ecosystem to help him take it to the next level. Okay, great. Senthil, thanks a lot. Dwiji, have you joined the call? Dwiji
Yeah, I'm here. If I'm audible.
Yes, Dwiji, you're
Yeah.
audible.
Unfortunately, my bandwidth won't permit me to turn on my video, so apologies for that. My name is Dwiji. I am from Bangalore and I work with different communities across the country. Mostly those that are looking to go beyond the conventional definitions of enterprise and NGO and conservation and markets and all that, where we are trying to address the people-centric issues rather than looking at specific things like livelihood or conservation or rather than looking at it from an exclusionary perspective. We try to work on things which are more inclusive, so trying to look at how right to food would translate to a practical thing when we look at something like dryland farming, or why rainfed farming is critical part of a sustainable food system, or looking at what would labor relations be when we look at sustainable food systems, right? So these are all complex, what are called as intersections in more academic circles, but essentially looking at these intersections and trying to identify balances that work for the people who are in these spaces, rather than looking at it from a project or a or a program centric approach, looking at it from a people centric approach. So that's what we do. And in this initiative, there are about 4 or 5 different locations where I collaborate with local organizations on skill development, training, and various aspects of production, processing, as well as consumption, and also try to bring in aspects of ecological sustainability and various other dimensions, like I mentioned, primarily around the socio-political as well as the economic in terms of livelihoods and other things. So the one that I'm most I spend most time with is the one in Sitapur. This is about 80 kilometers north of Lucknow, northwest of Lucknow, towards Delhi. And the initiative itself is a collaboration between 3 entities: an NGO, a farmer labor collective, and a company. And I'm part of all 3 of these entities, but at the same time, my role is primarily in working uh, with the local communities to identify what are the technological solutions, and also skilling and various other aspects of training and skilling, so that we can have a successful initiative which goes beyond conventional definitions and tries to address people issues. I think that should be sufficient to start off the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I agree. So I have a trivia. Can anybody spot Dwiji in this photo? Dwiji hasn't turned the video on. So can anybody spot Dwiji in the photo? Might be the easiest question.
What is your
The photograph in the poster and this one are around the same period. So yeah.
Yeah, I think people get it right. Dwiji is the one without the shirt. That's right. So we'll move on. So here's Dwiji. And Dwiji, whenever your connection is stable enough, you can turn on the video and everybody can say hi. And thanks, Dwiji, for sharing all these photos. Even though I'm moderating today's session, but I myself hadn't seen the photos of all the millets up close. There's so many different kind of millets, and they're all indigenous to India. It's just that with Green Revolution, we forgot about them and moved to rice and wheat. majorly, and good that now we're coming back to them. So would love to hear more about your work on millets and how that creates more inclusivity, and as you like to call it, the right to food. So yeah, during the course of our conversation, please cover that as well. Great. So today's topic is on entrepreneurship and the local economy. So I would, so Kapil, if you can talk about the different offerings that you have in your Farmversity, because you're teaching urbaners. So everybody, interestingly, everybody has different kind of learners. So Kapil, who mostly operates out of Delhi, he has 2 farms in Delhi, and he wants to teach, his mission is to teach everybody to grow their own food. We have these terraces, balconies. So his learners are mostly the urbanites. But then along with teaching them, so he's in a way running the Farmversity. It's a university that teaches farming. But Kapil also runs multiple different offerings that build complementary revenue streams for him. So I call Kapil a serial entrepreneur in that sense. So Kapil, if you can talk about what's your bouquet of offerings that you offer, so that our friends, our other Farmversity leaders can take inspiration.
Um, so, just say that what we are doing is just a lot of interrelated things that work in a very synergistic manner. We originally started by just doing kitchen gardens and doing workshops. So a small source of revenue is the workshops that we do, where we invite people to learn on various topics of farming. We also do this for corporates and organizations and schools, etc. as well. So that's one source of revenue. The other one that I mentioned earlier was, of course, we provide the services to design, execute, maintain, train people who want to create a garden of their own in their own space, which could be a rooftop or a balcony or a backyard or a small or a large farm. And we do apply the principles of permaculture design wherever possible. The third thing we have is these 2 farms right now, one in Delhi, one in Gurgaon, where we provide a small farm called a farmlet on a monthly subscription, where people pay a monthly fee and we provide them the land, all the resources required, and the delivery to grow the food that they eat. And we also have a store now, which offers things which are not grown on the farmlet or on a kitchen garden. Things like oils, cold pressed oils, or flours, or grains and dals and pickles, etc. We Some of these come from our partner farms, which is the farms that we have designed and managed, or some of our own farms, or partner farmers who are doing it organically in nearby parts of the country. Uh, so these are the broad areas. And then what we have also done now lately is we are using our farm spaces, the 2 spaces that we have right now, as an event space. So we also invite chefs to create various events around food, around cooking, sometimes using what we are growing on the farm to again create a more engagement for our customers and clients to engage with the food that we are growing and what we are eating. So I think in broad sense, this is what we're doing. We also have a not-for-profit, a foundation, through which we do a lot of work around rewilding, creating more natural, not edible, natural native landscapes. We also work around waste management, and we also work with some low-income areas and government schools to introduce growing food within those spaces.
Yeah, that's a huge list. Kapil, out of these different offerings, can you give us a sense of which one is the biggest contributor for revenue? And the second question is that, do each of these 7, 8 offerings, do they have the potential of becoming the primary offering for anybody who wants to do that um, as the only revenue source?
I think they are. I mean, that's why we are doing them. They are each has a lot of potential. I think that's the drawback of what we are doing is also that we're doing too many things. So we haven't focused one particular thing to make it grow very large. But I think each of them has a potential, and of course, the time and place may make a difference as well. The first question you asked as to which ones are currently the most revenue generating for us, the farmlets, which are the farm subscription service, and also the consulting service, which is to help design and execute gardens, whether in a urban space like a rooftop or a large farm. So these two services almost make up 80% of our revenue. The remaining things make about 20%.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for sharing, Kapil. Yeah, and if anybody wants more details on on the operational detail of running one of these ventures, you can get in touch with Kapil. And Kapil, if you can, towards the end of the call, if you can also throw light on how to approach, starting and running a venture from the business point of view. That's also a
So
big part of the entrepreneurship, how to
share,
keep your
I
fixed
can
costs
share
low.
my learning from this journey of starting this organization.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get to that question towards the end. Great. Manas, can you talk about your entrepreneurial journey? I know you have been a serial entrepreneur too. You've been doing different things. You were also into food value add and food processing before. Can you throw a little light on what was your journey before the Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market? And how is hosting a market as a business idea for an entrepreneur? It's definitely something that helps catalyze the farmer to adopt the natural farming, but how organic farmer market itself is a good venture.
So, in short, before getting into food and organic, I've been an information architect in an IT company, an advertising and media professional running my own advertising company. Set up the first service apartment company in Gurgaon in 2007. So that was real estate and hospitality. I also had a cycling racing company, a sports company, and that took me to food, and that's where it all kind of got together, where I was exploring learning food, nutrition came, sports and performance nutrition was my next step after cycling, and there started a food company called Grainies, which went on to be very successful amongst. I thought that we are making food for the athletes, but except athletes, everybody jumped onto our foods. Yeah, but the highlight about the Greenies was that it was a great love affair with the product, and we made it 95%, 99% traceable to the farmer, to good organic natural farms from around the country. The ingredients were coming, and that showed in the product also. And while Greenies was on, we started Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market. A group of 10 people got together in 2014 early, and we said we need to set up something for ourselves. We need clean food for us. And how do we do it? And the one idea was, let's set up a market in Gurgaon, and that will not only benefit the 10 people, 10 families, but also everybody else. And there wasn't any looking back after that. We had 5 farmers and vendors who started with us. Today we have over 400 registered vendors and farmers from all over the country who participate. Sometimes they participate weekly, some of them come seasonally sometimes. So all that is there, but it's a great connection. It was the reason I see for it to have stay afloat is that it is everything a community project, but it's never been an event management company. Most farmers market, or that's my thought onto this is, if you're setting up a farmers market, don't just think it like an events company or events business, not like another. So it's obviously the management is part of it. The things like traceability is a big issue with us. Display is a big issue with us. Quality of the product is a big issue with us. Processing, collaboration. So I'll tell you, like earlier, we only had farmers who would bring fresh produce. Then how to increase the income? One is that you increase the sale of the same fresh produce, but another way which I was working on with them was to help them process their produce. So earlier they were selling just gehu or atta, and then they will start making dalia, and they start making suji, and then went on to make cookies with that, and then went on to make halwa with that. So suddenly the farmers' income was multiplying. Some of the farmers, like the government said they will double the income. At farmers market they made their income 20 times. But the ones and then there came the women or the community people from the community. They said we want to set up something. Where some people are doing baking, some are doing achar, and some. But so I said, the only condition I have is that our ingredients have to be traceable, and we also encourage them to then buy their raw material from the farmers who are already there. So that also added to the farmer's income and also added to the traceability. And see, what is happening is with the traceability and quality being in place, the customer trust went skyrocketing, because now they were able to track it to the farm. And one of the conditions which the farmers sign is unconditionally they are open to visitation from the customers. So anybody can visit the farm, and that also became a source of income for the farmers. They made it like a farm tour and a day visit to the farm. So that also added to the overall engagement. I often say the familiarity, how do you trust somebody? So I say familiarity breeds trust. So if you want to trust somebody, you have to become familiar with that, create awareness about it. And that's how that's happened. And often on a good day, the 3 hour market sees a turnover of 3 to 4 lakh rupees collectively. Sometimes some farmers make 5,000 rupees, some people make 50,000 rupees in 3 hours, 4 hours. So depending on how they display, and then there's a constant reminder to them to display properly, bring good quality produce. So that's where now you see that the training or the educating is an inherent part of Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market. It's not one of the thing, it is the key thing. There's a constant learning happening. And this training is in the entrepreneurship. This training is also in the farming. This training is also into transportation, logistic, packaging, customer interaction, dealing with grievances, whole lot of stuff. And so one thing which I noticed was that farmer is the one who stays the longest in a value chain. Nobody else, no other business stays so long. So they have the highest risk. And the organic farmer, especially when they are growing, they also want to sell to the customer. So they can be farmer in the farm, but when they're selling, they have to be a seller. They have to be a shopkeeper. So this is a transition which has helped the farmers market make its own very unique space, and it's been written about in various journals, become part of international research, and yeah, that's I call it successful in that way, in various ways. Yeah. So if somebody is trying to set up a market, consistency, quality, I call it 4A formula, which is create accessibility, create affordability, create assurance, and create awareness. Work on all these 4 arms to set up a good farmers market, or maybe to set up any business. This will work for any work business space. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. And actually, it's the Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market through which I know Manas. I was I moved to Gurgaon after the COVID, and then I heard about this organic farmers market. I went there and joined there not as a customer but as a citizen volunteer. And then I learned that how Manas is not just, as Manas rightly put, it's not just a event management kind of venture, putting all the farmers. Although we have such kind of commercial farmers markets also running, but I had a chance to look through the commercials of the way Manas runs his farmer market. It's not a for profit. The costs are the minimum, you know. And so normally a farmer's market run on the I would say price point of farmer giving a certain amount, let's say 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees per table in a market. But in the Manas market, it was 500 or maximum 1,000 for the aggregators, and sometimes even that was subsidized. But the goal was really to promote as many local and small scale farmers to come and set up a stall there. And at the end of the market, Manas would do the hafta vasuli, what he could not get in cash, he would get in sabzi from the market.
That's my income. There's a very high profit I collect. Like I get to eat the clean food. That I tell people that, you know, that's the only reason why I run this market. I get the cleanest food possible.
Yeah. But the organic farmers market is not just a venture. I learned that, and I think if somebody really wants to create an impact, they can create a farmversity out of it, right? Because Manas wasn't just calling the farmers to sell their food, but he was also upskilling them in terms of how to diversify the crops, also upskilling them on value adds, processing, and the way they should decide the prices, and many other things, you know. So, and thanks to the Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market, we have one or two more, you know, offshoot markets, you know, that came up from the Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market. So it's further expanding the reach of, you know, organic produce. That's great. Next, I would want to invite Senthil to share about the different entrepreneurial ventures that he's running through his Farmversity. And also, Senthil, do you also teach, like in case of Manas, he was also teaching his learners to become entrepreneurs, not just farmers, right? So do you also do that in your space?
Again, hi everyone. Suman is also doing many things. Me also doing things like him also. Okay, we start with the starting. I got trained from the Nammalwars Organic Farming Training Center 5 years. After that, in my travel, I do some farming practice all over the India.
Just give me 1 second. I'm going to mute people. Yeah. So you'll continue.
Okay. After that, I saw overall Tamil Nadu, many teams conducting organic farming training, organic farmers market. In some places, farmers producing organic farming vegetables like that. After that, they can't sell for the proper price. The connectivity between the farmers and the awareness-full consumers are very lagging. So we are planning to conduct a farmers market in Coimbatore. First, initially, I didn't start a training center in Coimbatore. In my travel time, I conducting regularly monthly once event in Coimbatore. In and around Coimbatore, different varieties of training, farming, terrace gardening, medical, and start an organic shop, like that, different varieties of training from 2017. 2 years, I continually conducting monthly meeting, training, sharing events. After 2 years, more than 300 people connected with me directly from the one by one event. After 2 years, I posted in the group. I am planning to start an organic farming training center in Coimbatore. I need a farm for rent to specifically the training center purpose. In the team, one person give his land for the training center. After that, 2013, I started a Senjole organic farm in Tamil Nadu, Coimbatore. We give organic farming, the input preparation, pest management, disease management, like that, many kind of organic farming techniques, integrated farming, cattle management. After that, in our team, many farmers are producing organic vegetables, fruits, greens, like that. After that, we conducted organic farmers market trial. On the trial basis, we conducted some organic farming market from the 3 months once. We get some experience from that. All consumers not buy regularly from our market because they don't have a awareness, fully awareness. Because I came into the organic farming because of in my family, in my elders, the mother milk also got poisoned from the pesticide. I got a more awareness from my own experience in my family. But all consumers from our market don't have a full awareness. Consumers, they can't regular. We don't have regular awareness full customers. After that, we are planning to reach more people. So we are planning not only we need to conduct organic farming training, we conduct terrace garden training. In the terrace garden training, many people came for the training. Some people can produce their own food like vegetables, greens only. They can't produce millets, they can't produce rice, oils like that. They like that products they buy from our markets. We are creating the new customers from the different variety of training. The cosmetic training, the traditional games, traditional artworks, different kinds of training we conducted. The different varieties of people came for the training. We introduce our farmers to the training people. The same market we conduct in the training also. In the training period, we take 2 hours to give awareness to the people. For 1 hour, we telling about the organic farming, organic foods preparation, the health benefits of the organic foods like that. After that, we introducing our organic farmers in that meeting. The consumers saw the farmers directly and buy the produce directly from the farmers. The farmers also selling to the customers directly. It's a community activity. Now they are very close friends. That they are not just a producer and consumers. They are friends. They are talking in market like friends. After that, we also give training to the value-added product like biscuits, jams, pickles, and the cosmetics, soaps, coconut oil-based soaps, like gel, lip balm, many kind of things. In the same market, we conducting the training. The students for the training also see the production, the training. After that, the students, the public are making biscuits from their home. Some women making the biscuit from their own for their own food, and they continuously after that some period they selling in the market also. So the cosmetics biscuits also. Some customers regularly coming for the market. Some like bioenzyme. Some customer regularly using bioenzyme and preparing for themselves only. In market, some days, some markets we can't sell the bioenzyme. Particular woman selling the bioenzyme from their own production. The consumers also sometimes they are the sellers in market. Yeah, we created the space for them.
Senthil, how big is the community of consumers and farmers in your market? How big is that community?
Sorry?
How big is the market in terms of number of farmers and consumers? And is that a
in our
market or
farmers,
local market?
okay, in our farming, the selling persons nearby 15 to 20 people. They're randomly changing because of some people sometimes have production, they can't have some harvest like that. The people nearby 350 to 400 people monthly market regularly for the market.
Correct. Okay. So
Because of the in our market, some farmers also selling in the normal market or normal organic shops. But in our market, the producers are they're very happy because the consumers don't ask why the black dots in banana like that question didn't happen in our market because the consumers and producers already familiar to me.
Yeah.
By the lot of meeting, lot of trainings, they trust me in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually you're the center of your initiative is actually the workshop that you do, which also bring in the farmers and also the people, the urbanites from the city to learn hands-on skills, also natural farming, terrace gardening, and also hands-on skills like you talked about soap making, right? Even those skills are there. So you're already creating a community through your training. So they already share the same set of ethos and values. And yeah, and I can imagine how that will automatically bring in the trust and less doubts in the mind of customers. Since we're talking about the organic farmers market, I think Aman brought up a point about perception, and I'm reading his chat message. One of the perception around organic produce and their sale is that they're comparatively expensive, putting them out of the reach of majority of people to consume regularly. How do you address this perception through your market? Senthil, if you can go at it first. In your Germinator, this grant application, you mentioned that you want to see organic farming. Even the poor people, they should be able to afford organic. It should be for everyone, right? So, how are you ensuring that in your farmers market?
Last,
Yeah.
just repeat last one.
So, in your organic farmer market, uh, is the organic produce that is sold in your organic farmers market, is that also affordable by all economical classes or just the people coming from city?
Yeah, in some producers different big depending upon the producers, their expense. We give freedom to the farmers, fix their rate. Some farmers from the long travel, they fix their own price. Some vegetables are also same as a normal market also, because they're very nearby to our farm. We connecting market in our own farm only. We don't have a separate place for that. The nearest farmers selling low price. The depends upon their travel expense.
Yeah.
Some low economic people can also buy the vegetables, greens also.
Okay. Okay. And Manas, what is your perspective on this question? Because I remember we did some economical analysis also, and we found out that the
Yeah,
vegetables and the yeah. Well, Manas.
let me give a serious and then a funny answer to that. So the serious answer to that is that it's actually not expensive. It's when we did the study, we found that especially in the Gurgaon context, I can talk of that with a certain family income on the foundational food, the basic food, which is also the large part of the overall food basket, this vegetables, fruits, spices, pulses, rice, oil, and everything. From an economist point of view, there can be 15 to 30% higher, but from a expense point of view, from a personal, how much you are spending already as a part of your family income, and what extra you pay, it was only 2 to 5% more on the food bill, and the quality speaks for itself. We are not buying bad quality food at a higher price. And there's no comparison possible between what is chemically grown, what we get in the mandis, or what we get in the supermarkets or onto the fast, quick delivery businesses. There is no comparison in the quality. You can the taste, the texture, and feel, and that's just at a 2-3% higher. At right now, the tomato is more expensive in the market outside than in farmers market here. But yeah, of course, there can be an avocado here and there which can be much twice the price or something. But there is no, actually, it's not expensive. It's, and sometimes I also say that if that is not possible, see, there is a lot of violence or there is a lot of injustice in the industrial value chain. There's so much exploitation in the value chain. It's almost like buying chori ka saman from the market if we are buying from the regular market. There's so many people don't get their due share. and the energy or wealth gets, the profits get concentrated in the hands of the few. Here in the organic market, nobody is making a killing. Nobody is going out and buying expensive stuff like the farmers. They're all working hard. But you see the pride, you see the joy in their eyes, and they are asking for a fair price in the from the customer. And the funny answer to that is that the food is not expensive. Maybe your salary is low. Maybe ask your boss to increase 1,200 rupees, 2,000 rupees extra, so that you can at least eat clean food. You know,
Mm.
why you are working so hard? You know, just give your body, give your family access to clean food, which is also good for the climate, good for the community, good for the people who are making it, and it's great quality. After all this working hard, if you can't eat good quality food, then what's the joy in doing that business or being in that job? So that's a little light-hearted answer I have for people.
That's true, Manas. That's true. And then also in the organic farmers market, I've seen that mostly we leave it to the farmer to decide the pricing. And organic
Yes,
and the organic, the way to you produce the organic food, there's a lot of it's labor intensive, and then you don't kill the pest, but then you manage the pest through the different tactics. So there's also some wastage that happens there, right? So all that factors into the organic. But
all
what
that.
you
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're absolutely right, Atul. See, the thing is, I see a success of a farming family is when the next generation is also joining the
Farming.
trade,
Yeah.
farming. You know, the failure of the farming family is when the parent says that do whatever, but don't come and be a farmer. You know, and
Mm.
I see Senthil also agreeing to it, because that's a phenomena, that's the mass phenomena where we are losing out on the next generation at a rapid pace. Like uh, the US lost its next generation in 60s. You know, UK, Europe lost it's in 70s and 80s. It's India now which is coming. And where are these youngsters going to go to work in the factories? So,
Hmm.
so there is a whole chain. It's very deeply rooted, the entire ecosystem. They're just asking for a fair price, and it's
Hmm.
not a lot. You
Yeah.
know, which is also is, that what kind of so much exposure or experience you have with so many farmers. What do you say with that?
Hmm.
Couple of things. I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that we have to transition, and any transitions are going to be painful, right? So transitions are never easy, whether you look at it in a professional space or a personal space. So in a societal space, even more so, because there are more factors, there are more stakeholders, and therefore the negotiations are going to be even more involved. And when we are looking at food systems, the need to transition is very clear. So this transition is going to be expensive in the conventional sense. And that's why we have to look at it from various dimensions. And I completely agree with you, Manas, that if you're not able to afford good food, then it's not just the problem with the producer of the food, but it's also about your how your effort is being valued by your employer or by society in general. So it kind of brings in this whole aspect of interlinking and intersections, which is very critical when we look at how we are going to move to a sustainable food system. So that the financial cost of organic food, clean food, is going to be more than that of chemical laden food at many points in time. And I completely agree with you, Manas, that it's not always the case. There are times when actually clean food is cheaper. It's just that we are not able to get to it, and having farmers markets like this would help. But from a farmer's perspective, because I work mostly with small and marginal farmers, the challenges of food that they face is entirely different than what
Yeah.
urban food faces, right? So urban consumers face. So I mean, I'm kind of segueing, if Atul permits me
Yeah, please do.
to the work that we are doing, which is that when we look at communities across the world, the most disadvantaged ones are the ones who are producing the material, the food. Typically, I mean, you can look at artisans, you can look at any kind of producer. The producer community is the one that compromises the most if you look at it in broader terms. So especially it's true with regard to food prices. We all know about how food prices have worked out over the years, have changed or evolved over the years as compared to other things. Now, so what does that mean when we look at right to food, or how does entrepreneurship figure in such a space where rural consumers don't necessarily have the buying power that urban consumers do? So the first thing that comes up is that entrepreneurship has to be looked at beyond just the financial angle. And that's some of the things that we have been working on, recognizing that farmers and even farm laborers for that matter are some of the biggest entrepreneurial class we have in the country, because they don't have an assured, like, they're not salaried first and foremost, right? They have to earn their livelihood by working a day or two or 10 days or contracts, right? So that is the first factor. The second factor is that they are taking huge risks, especially when we look at farming. We know the kind of uncertainties that are there with regard to farming, whether it is in terms of the seeds, whether it is in terms of the availability of resources, or for that matter, even simple things like rains, how dependable or not they are. So they take a lot of risks, and their returns are not assured, and yet they do this again and again and again. So we hear about startups in the IT sector, and we make a hue and cry about it as a society and as as a state. But if you look at it, the largest volume of entrepreneurs, startups are in the agricultural sector. Each and every farmer, each and every farm laborer is an entrepreneur because they fit every definition of a startup and an entrepreneur. So just trying to expand this into action and recognizing how we can support these individuals, how we can add to their existing skill sets so that they can expand those industries or the people they serve, and the ways can and they can avail or earn their livelihoods, right? So all these factors come in, and of course the four A's that Manas has articulated, totally agree with that. And availability, the fourth one, is I think one of the biggest factors which affects the rural space, because the best quality produce invariably goes out to the cities, and what is left behind is what comes from the cities in packaged, nutrition depleted forms. So, so there are various other challenges that we are trying to work on, and that's why when we talk with our communities, we are looking at it as a Kheti Khana Poshan initiative, rather than just looking at in terms of Kheti, or just in terms of Khana, or just in terms of Poshan. So, translating it from Hindi, Kheti means farming or agriculture, and khana means food, and poshan means nutrition, nurturing actually, but nutrition in this context. So so the idea of looking at entrepreneurship going beyond just the financial is to see how we can have more value creation in the community, and while doing that be able to sustain the initiative through various means, some of which the community itself will afford to pay, uh, while some will come, or a fraction will come from grants, things that we can align with philanthropic initiatives, and some will actually come from community, which is not necessarily consuming, but rather the larger community, the Sangathan, the collective, which feels that yes, we have to be invested in this and take this forward. So it's about carving out these relationships. I shouldn't even say carving, but it's more like nurturing these relationships, building these relationships, and the idea of familiarity breeding trust. Completely agree. I mean, I'm just trying to see what is the value add I'm bringing, because Manas seems to be catching all the good points. But I totally second that point also, that the more we are familiar with communities, the more we recognize what they are going through and build a relationship of trust and start trying to work together rather than one working for the other. So collaborations in the true sense of the term is what we are trying to achieve with Sehat Ka Bardana. But I think I'll kind of pause here if Atul or someone else wants to take this in another direction.
Yeah, so I mean, interesting to see your perspective on entrepreneurship, Dwiji. Like, it's not about diversifying the income source through non-farming activities, but farmer itself is the biggest entrepreneur. And while the startups get loads of investment in millions from the investor who are willing to share that risk, farmers don't really get investors. They only get more and more debt, especially in such a risky scenario where the climate is not favorable, even more so with the climate change. Uh, the rewards are less, but the risk is going higher and higher, right? So that's
I
a
want to
really
I want to
challenging.
add something, yeah, because going back to the question and to that cost benefit analysis, I'll say if we start the industrial mindset or the urban mindset is actually kind of nailed that profit is only in the form of cash or money. Whereas when we are working with the farm, with the soil, so the soil is like a bank, it holds so much of our resources. Then people working on the field, they get it's like physical health, mental health. People consuming it, they get health benefits, they get the joy of eating clean food. The profit also manifests in so many other forms, then the cash becomes insignificant. And the cost versus benefit is so high in eating clean food, not just for the body, but for the climate, for the community, for the justice, for the farmer. And it's a transition. Like I'll definitely latch on to that point, Ruji. We are in a transition phase. Globally, we are in a transition phase. Today, if I look at the number, only 0.03% people are buying clean food in this country. 0.03%. That's the excess in terms of cash excess. But there are many more who are eating clean food because they're able to grow it, or they're able to forage it from the forest, or they cannot buy food, so they're growing their own food. So there is a large unlisted community out there which is actually eating cleaner food. And the people who have a lot of money, they just don't have access to it. Today I got asked this question, where do we get organic food in Delhi? Like, is there any market in Delhi? With a city of 1.4 crore people, there is no organic market happening like GOFM in Delhi. So what are we going to do with that money which we are making if there's no access to it?
Yeah.
So there's a much bigger, deeper issues to deal with than the 2 or 3, 5% extra. I'll say I'm worried about the people who actually cannot afford it. These are the people who are stuck in the city. They are the workers. There's a larger community of people who are working in the factories or in the offices, have lower income. They actually cannot afford clean food. This is the transition which we need to make. This is what Senthil has been talking of, that how do we go to a point where everybody is able to afford clean food, whereas the grower is also able to make a reasonable, respectable income for themselves.
And what's funny, Manas, is that the person who is not making enough in the factory to buy clean food, he actually left his farm back in the village to come
Exactly.
to the
That's where I
city.
was talking about the migration arresting, where the next generation, what is happening to the generation leaving the farm? They are coming and working in this factory.
Yeah.
Look at their mental health, physical health, which is what, like big tsunami we are sitting on, like a big volcano to erupt. Like it's already erupting, obviously, but it's like public health issues. Uh, that's where is the money going to come to take care of that?
Mm. Yeah, I want to steer the conversation towards local economy because I heard Duji, you mentioned some time back that in Sitapur, your collective mostly focuses on millet production and processing, and out of three, well, how much? I mean, it was 3 ton of millet rice that was produced
Yeah,
last year. More than half of it, 1.75 ton, was consumed locally, and
yeah,
millets these days are sold as premium food. Especially in the cities.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so can you just elaborate on that, on how this
Sure,
kind of thing is strengthening the local economy?
sure. So, one of the main factors that we have, put in as our design parameter in setting up our enterprise is to look at not just setting up our enterprise, but our initiatives is to look at local markets as the primary focus. What we define as the local market is essentially people who can come to and we can reach to directly as producers, as processors that we can connect to directly. Just apologies, I'm in the airport and there might be some background noise. My sincere apologies for that.
No, no, your microphone is
So,
not catching that. Don't worry.
oh, good. That's great. It's filtering it. I'm more than happy. So what I was saying is that when we look at local economies, we are essentially trying to make define local also in the local context in some sense that people who can come and buy stuff from us, people who we can reach directly are what we call as local. And one thing that we have, this does not mean that it gets consumed locally. And I have to be very frank about that because we have had many local entrepreneurs coming up who are buying stuff from us and then packaging it better and selling it to places in Sitapur itself and also in Lucknow. So it does go out. It's not that it doesn't go out, but it's just that we are able to sell it in the local space. And a lot of our produce, about as you mentioned, 1.75 tons out of 3 tons, were sold in the local space itself. So we did not have any marketing beyond what we are doing in terms of promotional activities locally, and we did not have any other overheads like packaging and other things. I do agree with Manas that presentation matters, but it matters when there is, in certain uh, situations, in certain contexts. In our context, the presentation that we have gone for is having it clean and having it, transparent, having it in such a way that people can handle it and touch and feel it. So, which is what most rural consumers want to do, where they want to touch and feel the material before they can buy it. They want to buy it. And millets are part of the whole economic equation, but uh, we are also looking at how we can bring in oil seeds and pulses and various other aspects, because when we look at sustainability and local economies, we are also looking at local agroecologies. So the economy of agriculture cannot be sustained if we are looking at just one slice of a food basket. It has to be a diverse food basket, and that's where we are looking in our initiatives with the farming communities. We are essentially promoting multi-cropping and crop rotation and things like that, so that we are looking at both the soil health and therefore the soil economy, which Manas and Sendil and Kapil also mentioned, that the health of the soil and the farmland is so important for when we look at local economies. And that is another thing that we are focusing on, that how do we work with people with depleted soils, nutrition depleted soils, and try to bring back some of the nutrient values, or you know make the soils more healthy. um, the other aspect of local economies is that of the labor sector, and this is a big challenge because this is one of the most exploited sectors in the current macroeconomic model that we are living in. Some support is available through MGNREGA and other such social welfare schemes, but securing those rights is a big challenge. And given that we are working with a community which is dependent on non-farm income as well. Our initiatives also try to work with the within the framework of their realities, which is that they have to go out and work as laborers in various farms as well as on various projects like that of the MG and REGA. So when we look at local economy, we try to expand our perspective beyond what typical incubators and startup schools talk about, and look at the various aspects of the lived realities of our communities. I think I'll pause there.
Yeah, yeah. I think there were so many layers to that. But I think what I found interesting was that the local economy, since we're talking about the price of organic food, the local economy is the one that also brings down the price of organic food, isn't it? Like how Senthil was mentioning that producers coming from far away, they would definitely have to add the price of the transportation, right, to the organic food. And if you are selling, especially in an environment where there's no trust, you have to package it in a fancy manner, put all those certifications, you have to pay for those certifications. But if you have the environment of trust and familiarity, you don't have to have any of those costs. So I remember when I was buying food from Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market, there some of the items like rice or wheat, they were selling it out of bora, they had bora, no packaging, and you say how much kg you want, they'll just put that thing in the bora and measure and give it to you, right? So that's a local market where the trust is there, and you don't have to, you can bypass all that premium and pay the price that is more favorable. Senthil, you also talked about like when we were earlier talking that in your Sulur Organic Farmers Market, 60% of the food is bought by the local households, right? And then you're also training your learners to become the producers of bio inputs which other farmers can use in their organic farm, right? So can you just elaborate about that? How are you strengthening the local economy through your Farmversity?
Yeah, Sanjay. In starting there, the people from the Coimbatore town only came for that market. Who already came for our training sessions, they only the customers for our market. After that, we called the local leaders, the Panchayat union leaders, ward members, councillors, the market to inaugurate the market. They can easily reach our farmers market to the local people. We use that method to reach local people.
And then go ahead, please finish your thoughts, Senthil.
And we also give training to local farmers to prepare organic inputs like manure, vermicompost, some inputs, liquid fertilizers, amino acids. They also use in their farm. The excess of inputs they are also selling in the market. Some other farmers also buy, and some consumers also buy that for their terrace garden, for their kitchen garden, for their own simple purpose.
Yeah. See, it seems like your market, the market that you host, has a very diverse set of SKUs or different items that are sold. So you sell the producers sell vegetables. Then you also have people selling manure, compost, vermicompost kind of stuff. You also have people
Different types
making
of
biscuits and selling
millets.
biscuits.
Yeah, lot of things. Millet flakes, traditional rice, cosmetics, bathing powders, the ghee, the vegetables, cosmetics, lot of things.
Locally produced and locally sold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one last question to Kapil before we open the forum for audience questions, and I'll go through the chats to see that. But Kapil, since we're talking about entrepreneurship, and given that I know you because you've done all these about 1.5, 2 years back, we met and we were talking about how do we come up with a business plan, or how do we bootstrap a certain farm school. And then you shared a lot of insights about how does an entrepreneur can manage the cost, keep the fixed cost low, and then convert everything to variable cost. Can you give some insights on how any entrepreneur should be set up for success in their venture?
Sure. So again, this is coming from my experience, and I've seen different people do it differently. But one thing I feel, since we're in a space which is so niche, and there may not be a ready market for what we're doing, or there may not be a clear sort of a following for what we're going to do, or customers following us. I think it's very important that we be very conscious of the money we spend, and what it's going towards. I've seen a lot of people, and including myself, have made these mistakes where we start spending on things which are fixed costs. People on salaries. Can we do with people who are interns, or can we do with people who come on a freelance basis or on a day basis? So try to keep your costs as directly proportional to what your revenue or what work proportion will be. Also, other fixed costs like rentals on offices, or anything that you have to, where you have to pay a fixed cost every month, because these costs are going to be there regardless of whether your product succeeds or not, whether you sell or not. And this is what usually I feel leads to a lot of the businesses to fail, because they don't plan for this. So even though the business might have had some potential, it doesn't make it through because they didn't manage their earlier finances in a proper manner. So I think this is a key thing. I think to start off with a very tight string in terms of what you spend and what you how you spend on. Also, I feel that as an entrepreneur starting out, it's also very important to test out what you're going to do. Like, are there payable customers or not? One of the things that we all get fascinated with is by the idea, something that we have created or something that we have thought of. But an idea is only good if there's a paying customer for it. Sometimes, like, initially when we thought of kitchen gardens and all, we talked to people and everybody said, "Oh, I would want one. I would want one." Practically everybody said they would want one. But when it comes down to paying money for it, less than 10%, less than 5%, less than 2% do it. So what makes a business viable is a paying customer for it. So find the quickest way to get to that point, which is create a product which is as close as possible to what you want to offer, and see how many people are actually willing to pay for it, because that's the real benchmark of whether there's a demand for it or not, whether there's a need for it or not. I think these are the two very early common mistakes that I've seen people make, which leads them to in a wrong direction, or failure eventually in terms of that particular venture. So yeah, those are my two bits of information on how to start, or how to start in a very lean manner to get going.
Thanks for sharing that, Kapil. I was
I
going
wanted,
through.
I wanted to add something to it. Am I
Yeah, Manas, please.
just what Kapil is saying is absolutely bang on. What I want to add is that as an entrepreneur, we are fascinated by an idea. We fall in love with the idea. What I feel is, not feel like that's the reality is, idea has to come after the problem or the right challenge has been identified. I always advise that don't create an idea unless you have really pinned down what is a problem or a big challenge you are trying to address. Because once you have listed found the question or the challenge correctly, then you can get 10 ideas to solve it. So as an entrepreneur, typically the trap is that people get an idea and then they go into executing the idea, where the question or the challenge has not been identified properly. Like, absolutely right, find the paying customer. What is it going to do? Is it going to be sustainable? Is it like going to create like a larger solution once what you are doing? Don't fall for the idea right away. That's the execution part. That's the design part. Come to the really go after the challenge, really go after identifying the problem. It can be anything, whether it's a market, so the challenge in creating the market for us was that we needed clean food. People don't get clean food. How do you solve it? So you can either grow it, you can get a market, you can import it, do whatever, like home delivery, blah, blah, blah. So many ideas were possible. Whereas in our case, we said, okay, let's set up a market.
Yeah, that's
So
rightly said. So
as an entrepreneur, one has to really stay out of falling in love with an idea so soon.
Yeah, and interesting that applies to all industries. So I, for example, I still work for corporate. I don't work on the farm. I still work for corporate, and I'm a product manager. And we have to. One of my job is to figure out, what product, what software to build. And one thing that I learned is that we should always start selling first and then build next. Because once you start selling, you find is there anybody even willing to buy, at the price point that is working for my organization's financial sustainability. Is anybody willing to buy? Because if you go ahead and just do a small survey, are you interested in this? Everybody say yeah that they're interested. But once you start, then you go back, you start build the product. After 1 or 2 years, you get back to the market and nobody wants to buy it, right? So this is also called as the lean startup methodology, where you look at all your assumptions and test each of those assumptions without even building anything. So I totally resonate with what you guys are saying. One of the requests, I'm going back to chat messages. One of the requests from the audience is for the speakers to share their contact on the chat. If the speakers are comfortable doing that, you can please share your contact so that our participants can get in touch with you. And so we're also collating all these details on the Farmversities website. So there's a website of Farmversities Alliance that I was earlier talking about, which is organizing this panel discussion series. And the website is farmversities.org. I will also type it here. So there we will share the bio of each speaker and also the email ID towards the end of the series. But if any speaker wants to share their contact details, they can share it here. Meanwhile, just going through the questions. There was a question from Roli from Noida. Not sure if Roli is still there on the call. Can she also participate as a seller in the Gurgaon Farmers Market? And are you considering starting one in Noida? So, Manas, the same question that I asked you last year when I moved to Noida. When are you opening the Noida Farmers Market?
I think really you can start the market in Noida. Ours is an open source methodology. Just go repeat what we did here.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, one can participate in Gurgaon Organic Farmers Market. It's a very standard, transparent process. Everybody goes through that. So
Yeah.
I'm putting my number there. Send me a message.
Yes. And that's the whole point, right? Expecting Manas to open the farmers market everywhere. That's again the same capitalistic model, right? Which is one company scaling it all.
Yeah.
You should go
Yes,
towards
I'm very much for the replicability and not for scalability.
Yeah.
Scalability is a term invented in the 20th century, like a bigger, larger factories. Whereas earlier we were working on the replicability, create something small and keep replicating it, and keep it open source, keep it. It's like open wisdom, like just do it in your own.
Yeah, I love that. And that's actually the core philosophy of Farmversities Alliance and also Indian Multiversities Alliance. Because when you replicate, you're always context aware. You're replicating in your own geography, in a certain culture. So once you're context aware, the replication is more effective than scaling the same McDonald's franchise everywhere. There's Kuldeep shared the contact details to be added on the mailing list. So for Kuldeepak and other people who wanted to stay in touch with the Farmversities Alliance, you can go to the Farmversities website and there's a contact us form. You can submit your details, your email ID there. Will soon be, if there are any upcoming Farmversities in our group today, they can fill up the register as Farmversities form. There's some problem with the form right now. We'll fix that. But for now, you can just fill the contact us form, and then we'll take on from there how to stay in touch. I don't see any other questions. There was a comment from Raj Kumar about the language of the discussion today. Rajkumar, we are sorry we stuck to English today because the last session was completely in Hindi. And people were saying, yeah, can you share some of that? So it just depends on session to session, speakers to speakers. We don't know how to solve that problem of delivering the content in both language and panel. I heard that there are translation channels also in Zoom. We'll try to figure that out. And I'm sorry, I spoke all of that in English again. So Ritik, you have your hands raised. Can you?
Yes, I have a question. Actually, I want to ask, for me as a young one, I never done a farming, and I really want to learn about the basic skills, and I'm very fascinated about the simple life, like doing a farming, being the building your mud house and something like that. But I'm also learning is a one thing. After that, uh, land prices is also going high. So how can one start with it? Like if one want to do it, how one can do it? Because buying a farm is also maybe, I don't know.
Hmm. Who wants to take that question?
Senthil
Senthil,
is-
want to answer?
Yeah, that me also don't have own farm. Our mother and father have own farm. In my generation, they shifted to the town. They said that if we want to live in a farm, we don't need a own farm. Just we need a land. Our master Namar will always speak, where you footprint, it's your land. Who you speak with, that's your people. That's enough. That's what the land what you have. You can easily rent that land. Yeah, we can easily learn with the local farmers, experienced farmers. Yeah. Nowadays we can't buy a new land. It's a fine, very fine.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, Senthil. And I think that's why all this discussion today is really helpful, because once you have a piece of land, and I can share that one of the space that I support, which is Azad Wadi. It's a forest school outside on the outskirts of Gurgaon. So the land is expensive, even on rent if you're renting it out close to city. But then you have to think about multiple I would say offerings or ventures that you can operate from that land. If you're only going to focus on growing food and selling, then you will not be able to meet the rent, the rent requirement. So then, like Senthil is running multiple of his ventures from that, right? He's also an aggregator. He buys food from the farmers and sells it under Senthil brand. He also runs a farmers market. He runs workshops. He also does school training program. So by diversifying, you increase your revenue and can also pay the rent that way. Another good idea is to join a community farm. Community farm is another interesting concept. Kapil also runs these farmlets. Yeah, you're saying something.
Yeah, lot of landowners can't do farming by their own. They can easily give the interested young ones in Tamil Nadu without money. They didn't ask money for that land. Can use in that area.
So they just give the land without asking for rent and.
Yeah.
If you're ready to relocate or move to another place, and there are thousands of community projects or lands available throughout. Even cheaper land is available to buy in other parts. But if you have to be in Yamunanagar, then renting is a great idea. You can still.
It's not cheap to all. Maybe cheap to someone, but it's not cheap for all.
No. The places where compare the parts of the country where the land is still like a fraction of what you'll pay in Gurgaon or in Coimbatore. But
Ritik, where are you from?
I am from Haryana, nearby Kurukshetra. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Kuldeepak Deshpande. I have been practicing organic farming for the past 17 years. I'm also a corporate professional in the past before taking to farming full time. Now, if you are serious about this, I'm from Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, which is Aurangabad in Maharashtra. Okay, if you're serious about your venture, I have land. I'm a first generation farmer. I migrated from the corporate back to the agricultural roots. But I bought land, so I can understand where you're coming from. And if you're serious about your venture, if you have creativity and you are up to roll up your sleeves, we can think of something here if you are willing to relocate. So that's an open offer.
Thank you for that. Let's see. We will connect.
Yeah, okay. My number is
open to relocate. I'm a traveler.
Yeah, so Kuldeepak ji's contacts are in the chat. Ritik, you can copy and yeah, record that on your side. But we are over time right now, so I would just thank everyone for joining today's conversation and for making such an insightful discussion. I would like to thank all the speakers and also all the participants for their engagement and all their interesting questions. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the fourth session. The fourth session is going to be on the government schemes and policies and how can our learners and the different learning spaces benefit from that.
Anshul, your number, please.
My number? Okay, I'll share my number.
Right?
Okay, I'll drop that too.
And how do we come to know about the event coordinates, the link or whatever?
So this time for this event, how did you come to know of it?
Oh,
Which
it came floating through some WhatsApp groups, and one of my friends forwarded that.
Okay. So you can join. Let me share. Okay, let me share another website. Farmversity Alliance website I already shared. You can join multiversities.org. You can visit this website, multiversities.org. So this is like the parent alliance of the Farmversities, and you can read more about that. And you can on multiversities.org. There's the Insta handle, Facebook page, and you can follow any of that.
Perfect.
So there we post all these events and even more, many such events, not just farming related.
This one anyway is happening every Tuesday at 7.
This is happening, yeah.
It's like come to the park at 7 on Tuesday.
Same link, Kuldeepak. Same link is happening. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. For
Tuesday, 7 p.m. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have clean dinner. Clean local dinner. Bye-bye.